there's a guilt later if they don't, right? So it actually can spiral a little bit negative.
Yeah.
Um, what are some of the ways that you've been able to see people if they set goals on achieve them? Like, because I find some people are like Danielle's extremely disciplined, like incredible, right? She's very goal oriented, very disciplined. But I find that discipline is one of those big things for sure. But that doesn't necessarily cover her why, right? The discipline is one piece, but the why is something deeper, right? More. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, the why, it has to be something deeper, right? And for me, I'll never forget. For me, when I was about 4 or 5 years out of college, I'd lost a bunch of money in the stock market. I started going into real estate, and I was making all of these trade-offs with my life. I just thought if I work harder, save more money, one day it's all going to work out, right? And after I lost a bunch of money in the stock market, I then started buying real estate, but it didn't ever really feel like it was a pathway that I was committed to. I was willing to jump at anything, right? If Bitcoin would have been out back in the day, I would have jumped all into Bitcoin, right? I mean, it's the latest, hottest, greatest thing. But it wasn't until my son got sick. My son had emergency open heart surgery 4 years after being born. And when I sat in the hospital with that little kid at that time, I realized all of the trade-offs I had been making. And I kept telling myself, when I have enough money, when I've got, enough real estate or enough money, all the things I was trying to measure against, then I'll come back and I'll be a better father, right? I'll come back and I'll do all the things that I'm going to do when I have enough money. And I remember looking at my son in that hospital room that day, realizing that I might be actually making the greatest trade-off. And I don't know if that trade-off's going to come to fruition. My son could die right here. And I remember thinking to myself, I've got to find a better way. I've got to find a way to be connected to my son today, be a better father, more present and engaged, and manage my finances at the same time. You have to have a why that's clear in your mind and that your heart is connected to, because then when you come back to the discipline and the operations, you're not going to let yourself off the hook. There's a why that's driving you beyond discomfort, a why that's driving you beyond the pain, the story that you'll tell yourself that you'll start tomorrow. So I think the why has to be there for sure.
So how do you get there?